Right, morning folks. Missed out on a bit of content yesterday, so I'm going to try and catch up a bit today. What I'm going to do now is show you how I paint buff coats for the English Civil War. I've already done 2 thin coats of barbarian leather from Coat d'Arms. So what I'm going to do now is give it a wash of Agrex shade from Citadel. Already catching that already. As usual, just lay your wash over what we're painting. Make sure there's no bubbles in it. You usually don't get any, but sometimes you do. Watch that seam there. Sometimes pulls a bit. So what we've got to do now is wait for that to dry. I should just drop the fan on. Yeah, so we're going to crack on with this today. I'm going to try and get part of the Musketeers done. Oh, sorry, those Dragoons I was doing, and I'll show you the fantasy content as well later on in a different video. So we're just waiting on this to dry. Still a bit too damp. So I hope everybody out there is doing alright, having a good time, getting plenty of gaming in. I've had a game for a while, something I'm hoping to rectify later on in the year. But we'll try and get some reports upon that. You'll probably find me on Garage Goblins as well, because during winter we tend to have a few more games. So I'm just waffling a bit while this is drying, but then just staring at a set of fingers holding a miniature. So what does everybody else play out there? Leave comments down below in the video. That'd be great. So it's nice to know what the community is doing itself. So yeah, that's near enough dry now. So what we do is drop back to the Coat d'Arms barbarian leather. Basically we are going to re-highlight or refresh that colour. So there's a little seam, I don't know whether you can see it, there's a little seam on this buff coat, just the top part, upper part, which is basically the chest area and down to the waist. So what I've done is paint the initial brown back in, and then underneath the seam start re-highlighting again with the brown. I mean, I really am rushing this, really. You should leave that shade to dry for a little bit longer. So we're just highlighting where there's some deep creases or slightly larger creases, leave them showing. Just gives it some depth to the leather. Yeah, not all buff coats were as thick as others. Some of them, the really expensive ones at the time, were up to nearly a centimetres thick. There's a good example of one that you could still see today if you go to Beaver Castle. It used to be in the entrance foyer. It's supposed to have been one of I think one of Jettle's officers from the English Civil War, which was parliamentarian, if I remember rightly. But yeah, you can view that unless they've took it off show. Can't touch it obviously because it's behind things, but that shows you. Buff leather was quite light, to be fair. But it's supposed to be buffalo hide, but I don't know about that. I don't know how much of that's true. Buff leather is just like, you know, the unpolished side or the untreated side, faced outwards. But then again, some of them were made with the treated side outwards, so it's contradictory to itself. So yeah, so that's that. When you can see it, there you go. It's a bit light in there. That flesh does look pale under this light, but I can assure you it isn't. So next colour we're going to take is a Foundry Triad, and it's buff leather, and then we'll go with A. Yeah, the rattling you can hear is that I've transferred some of the paints over to these dropper bottles, and I always put a agitator in there that helps mix the paints. It's always a bonus. So here we go. Oh, I keep catching this. Got to be careful, paintbrush is starting to split, which is not good for painting. So that upper body part that I was telling you about, just enhance that seam, take it upwards a little bit, shows where it is, and then this bottom part here, you can see there's some kinks in the leather. We'll just try and enhance that. Bring it down, just giving it some depth and texture now. I think we forgot to do the back with the there you go, folks. For the next video I'll readjust everything so I get better lighting on here. So that's the next layer up. Just wash my brush through. This is one of those Vallejo brushes I showed you the other day. This is the size 1. It's the only one that's sort of keeping its point, to be fair. But I can't see it lasting much longer. So again, it's another set of brushes that I'm struggling to find that do the job and last for a while. So now it's buff leather 7B. Just the tip of the brush. Again, there's that seam, just enhance that again. And across there. Just leaving some of the original and 7A showing, just enhancing now the top ridges of the folds in the leather. It's gone a bit thick. Spread that out a bit. Yeah, because it's in dropper pots, there's a bit of a thinner in the airbrush thinner that I put in, so it means, you know, I can work with it just that bit longer. It's not like a retarder, but it works in the similar sort of vein. Sometimes I actually add a bit of water to this paint as well, but at the moment it's nice and thin enough to be able to achieve what I need. That's just, you know, bringing everything together now. Right, just enhance that edge there a little bit. And this bit here, just a little bit more. There we go. You see, colours are starting to lift on that now. And now we go for the last one, which is buff leather 7C. I mean, the foundry paint's quite good actually. Some of them are a bit stark from B to C or A to B. When you get a triad that's like that, I tend to mix the two together in between each level. So if it's like, say, A is a bit too dull and it jumps up to B and it's quite stark, it just needs sorting. So I just mix it together, and basically sometimes you end up having to do 4 levels as opposed to the 3. There are 1 or 2 in their range that does that, but not many, to be fair. You can actually use some of the paints to make different triads out of that. I used to write them down, but I haven't done it for a while. Yeah, I'll see if I can find out some of my notes from anywhere, because they've got them written down, and they make interesting different tones and what have you, which again makes life a lot easier when painting. I've got an awful lot of paint, if I'm honest. I've got quite a few different manufacturers of paint. If push comes to shove, I think I can go away without having to actually mix any paints now, but because I'm limiting myself to certain companies worth of paint, it's a little bit different. But the Coat d'Arms paints and the Foundry paints, it's made by the same company, I believe, which is a UK company. Both have a similar texture, very good and nice and kind on your brush. Like I say, I've used some of these Vallejo brushes with some of the other types of paints that are a bit more chalky, and yeah, they're not the best. They tend to split easy. I tend to find when you start using the Coat d'Arms and Foundry, I think P3 paints used to be pretty similar. I don't know what the new types like, because I know they've been redone. They're quite kind to the brush. I mean, if you see this now, it's still got a nice point to it. So that's the main buff itself. Now, I know you ain't going to see it, but there's a couple of like bits that cut across the seam up there. I think that's supposed to be representing a leather thread going through the holes. Some of them had buckles, but it was very rare. It's only the higher ranking people that could afford stuff like that. So to enhance that, I'm just going to take a bit of brown. It's 216, I think. It's Negro brown, and that's the name of the paint. So I'm not being funny or racist with anybody, but that's what it's called. Taking that first of all. you probably won't see this, but it's just me being a bit OTT. And where it goes across, I'm just going to thin line where it is. Can I reach the other one under there? Just. I mean, why I'm doing it, you can only see them if you pick them up, but I don't know. Probably to help, if you get some that do show them, you'll be able to do it. This fan's really doing my head in. It's blowing me a piece of paper over here, tissue. So we take a bit of the hairy brown, thin that down, press it, well, not press it down, just work it off your brush. So you've got a nice fine piece, and then just a nice thin gentle line on top. So I don't know if you can see it. I don't think you can see it. We angle it, camera and stuff. But there you go. That's the buff coat done, along with its threads that hold it together. Like I say, historically some supposed to have buckles on. I've only seen pictures of it. I've never seen anything that's authentic or genuine. People are obsessed with pikemen wearing buff coats. A lot of people sculpt them with buff coats on. Again, it's only the train bands that tend to have them. Some of them had like what are called leather jerkins on, which were short, just enough to cover your chest area and down to your waist underneath armour. It stopped it from rubbing. Again, how genuine that is, not 100% sure. Usually they're just a woolen, russeted wool. Russeted wool as in the state of the wool, not red. That's what they keep calling it, russet red. Well, you've got grey that was russeted. It's something to do with the wool and how the wool was mixed. So when somebody says they're wearing a russeted jacket, don't automatically think that they're red. The brown that was russeted, grey that was russeted, and I know red, but red was quite cheap. That's why the new model army was done in red wool. So there you go, folks. So that's that completed. I'm going to drop onto something else later. Try and do the dragoon. We'll do the face and the musket on one of the dragoons. So we'll catch you later. Thank you for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, and all that gumph that you have to do. I'll catch you later. Thank you. Bye.